And a very good evening to you, and welcome to Politics 101, coming to you from Guyana. Coming to you from Guyana on a Monday night. Welcome to Politics 101. David Hines here with you. I know we have been off for a few days, and thanks for those of you who've been checking in, find out what's the situation with Politics 101, where we are still on. We are still on, but on my way from the United States to Guyana. We missed a couple of shows last week on Friday night, of course. We went live. We were in Mocha, and then Thursday night, I got in, and my children demanded that I spend one evening with them. So we couldn't come live on Thursday night, and on Friday night, of course. As I said, we were in Mocha. WPA launched its On the Road campaign, and we were in Mocha. Last night, Sunday night, we were in Golden Grove. And so tonight is our first night since last Tuesday. But we're on. Last night we were live at the WPA meeting in Golden Grove. I want to welcome all of you, and it's good to be back with you and good to be back from Guyana. Good evening to all of you here in Guyana. Good evening, Mocha. We had quite a stirring meeting there, public meeting. After a long time, the WPA is back on the road, and we had a good send-off, a good start to the campaign in Mocha. Good evening, Mocha Arcadia. Good evening to you. And last night at Golden Grove, we continued the momentum. Tomorrow night, we're going to be in, tomorrow night, we are going to be in Den Amstel on the west side. So those of you in the audience from Den Amstel, we are coming to Den Amstel tomorrow night at the usual meeting place in the village, the Claypick Road. Good evening, and it's so nice, so beautiful to be back in the community and speaking publicly to our people. As I said, very, very, very vibrant meetings, very vibrant in Mocha Arcadia. Welcome. Good evening to the people of Golden Grove. We come on the air tonight, and they have laid charges against the moving spirit behind the protests after Quindon Bacchus was murdered last year. In Golden Grove, Sister Robin Simon, a wanted bulletin was issued for her, and she turned herself in today with her lawyers. So far as we know, she is in the lockups. We have not heard any development since. And so this is what we're talking about. Our community, and the family, the opposition family, is under attack. It continues. They charged all those men, I think 12 of them from Golden Grove, Nabaklis, Haslington, for terrorism. They charged them for terrorism. And now they've gone after women. Sister Robin Simon, who was one of the chief organizers of those events after the young man was murdered, she has now been taken into custody. Well, she turned herself in after a wanted bulletin was issued for her. And this is the thing that we have been hammering away, both on this program and other programs, and that we in the WPA decided that we have to go on the road. We have to go on the road because when our people are under attack, we have to be out there with them. And we went live with those two meetings, and so some of you were able to hear the message. But once again, we have to report that one of our people one of our people, a member of the opposition, but in her capacity as chief organizer of the protests after Quindon was murdered, she has now been taken into custody and most likely will be charged for terrorism. The attack on the community continues. Good evening to all of you who are joining us. Good evening to those of you who are joining us from the United States of America, wherever you are, whether you're in South Carolina or North Carolina, New York, New Jersey, Arizona, California, Washington, D.C., Maryland, Virginia, or you're down there in Florida, welcome. Welcome to Politics 101. Again, tonight we have to be announcing another attack. And of course, you all are familiar with that attack that took place on the PNC when they moved in and ripped down, demolished the PNC's headquarters at Lethem. But this time the PNC has decided to fight back. They've reoccupied the building, and we want to applaud them for that. Because, you know, it's common knowledge that the PNC has not been fighting back on behalf of their people. When we announced last night at Golden Grove that the PNC reoccupied the building and that we endorsed that bold act of fighting back, there was a loud round of applause from the crowd. Because we don't have to engage in violence. The violence is coming from the other side. But we have to stand up when we are being attacked. And we have to be led by our political parties. And the PNC has been playing around, in my estimation, when it comes to standing up against this government. One is not saying to go on the road and to rip up places and set places afire. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about symbolic actions. They throw you out of your building that you've been occupying since 1975, 48 years. And you do what normal people do, you go back into the building. And so we want to applaud the PNC for that. And we are saying that that is what we want to see from our parties. We want to see fight. We don't only come and we complain, and we don't do anything to show our people that we are not taking this lying down and complaining. I said on this program that I thought what happened in Mocha Arcadia should not have been allowed to pass without some kind of action on the part of the opposition. And we can't tell the PNC what action to take. They will have to decide that. But the very little action of reoccupying the building is itself a big statement. It is the government that moved first. They're the ones demolishing. They demolish people's homes at Mocha, demolish people's homes at Linden, and they now move to demolish the party office, the big party. And we are glad that the PNC decided that they were going to take some counteraction. Good evening to all of you. Good evening to those of you joining us from the Caribbean. Welcome to Politics 101. Yes, we were not kicked off. We did not give up the fight. I know our last show was last Tuesday. I traveled on Wednesday and so couldn't come on Wednesday. Thursday, my children read the riot act to me and said they want one evening, one night of my time. One of them is visiting from England, and she and her two siblings here said, no. No politics 101 tonight. The politics 101 has to be for us. And sometimes you have to bow to the wishes of the family. And on Friday night, of course, we were in Mocha. And so I had to speak there. The meeting started at 6 o'clock. Camps TV went live, so some of you were able last night. Both Camps TV and Politics 101 went live. And so here I am today. Tomorrow, of course, we are going to be on the west side. We are going to be in Den Amstel tomorrow night, and then Thursday night, we are going to be in Buxton. Good evening, Mr. Vibert White. He was at the meeting in Mocha, man from East Bank. Good evening to all of you. Good evening to all of you. And it's good. I got so many inboxes and emails wondering what has happened to Politics 101. And I'm so glad. I'm so glad that you value what we are doing so much. And you were concerned. You were concerned, having not seen our program as much as you saw it before and you wondered. Welcome to Politics 101. Tonight we're going to talk about the PNC fighting back. Attorney at Law Darren Wade is going to be here. He has been one of the PNC lead persons on this matter. So Darren is going to be here. He is just out of a PNC meeting and will join us shortly. So welcome to Politics 101, and we're joining you from Guyana. It's so lovely to always be home. And I promised at the beginning of the year is that I'll be home more regular than before, because we have to struggle, and this struggle means that we need all of us on the ground. Last night we were in Golden Grove, as I said, and the PNC was in All Boys Town, and so two of the opposition parties were on the road, and the road is where the action is. As I said at the meeting last night, the PPP does not intend to meet us in church. They do not intend to meet us at Sunday school. They do not intend to meet us in a place of negotiation. They're pushing for a confrontation. They're pushing for a confrontation. And we have got to decide that we are not going to sit back and take blows and not push back, not push back. And the message was received very well in the two villages. Last night, the WPA, we declared a campaign of civil disobedience. And we made it clear that our people should not cooperate with the government. Our people should not be obedient to the government. We're not asking you to break laws, but we are asking you not to cooperate with the government. We're asking you not to allow yourselves to be used by the government. If they tell you to spy on your neighbor, say no. Or even if you say yes to them, give them wrong news. You've got to undermine. We've got to undermine. This government is undermining the interests of half of our population. And we're tired of sitting back and not let it be known that we are not going to tolerate it. Only we can stop the impasse that is heaped upon us. Last night I enumerated for everybody to remember. It all started on March 6th, 3 years ago. Today is March 6th. On March 6th, when PPP supporters in Bushlot and Bat Settlement, and in Lusignan and Horstellin and across the river, several communities, they took to the streets and they were beating police chasing police. They were stoning school children, black school children, black policemen, black policewomen. Those policemen and policewomen would not have allowed people in the black community to stone them. And so, sisters and brothers, that was the beginning. That's when they started. And then after they took power, immediately the Henry boys were murdered. 2 young, beautiful boys, not yet men. They were murdered. And then they murdered young Arish Singh because apparently he saw what happened. He saw what happened. And then they murdered Peter Headley. They murdered Orrin Boston. They murdered Quinton Bacchus, the blood of black people. Violence, racial violence. All of the violence were directed at black people, black community. What more do we want to see? Not one instant of those violence was directed at any other ethnic community, all against black communities. And then they went to Linden and those homes of people there, all black. They went to back Success and bulldozed black people homes. They remember that way back, the bulldozing start. And then they went to Mocha and bulldoze homes. And now they've gone to Lethem, bulldozing the party headquarters, the PNC headquarters, all directed at African Guyanese. The trend is there. They charged and locked up Lowenfield, Roxanne Myers, other people at GCOM. They locked up, charged and locked up. Sister Valda Lawrence, all African Guyanese, all African Guyanese. Up to now, those cases have not been brought before the court. And now they've locked up those men from Golden Grove, Nabatas, Haslington, and they're moving to lock up more. They're moving to lock up women, all African Guyanese, all African Guyanese community. If we live in a multi-ethnic society, why only one ethnic group is being targeted for the violence of the state? That is why we said last night that we agree with Coffee 250. WPA agrees with Coffee 250. We are in an apartheid state. Apartheid does not only mean living separately, it means being treated separately. In 1896, in the Plessy versus Ferguson case, the Supreme Court of the United States said that you may be equal under the law, equal before the law. The 14th Amendment said that. But because you are socially unequal, you cannot have equal treatment. Note, you're equal before the law, but you are socially unequal. That is what this PPP government is saying. Yes, you're equal before the law, but you are treated differently under the law. Separate and unequal. That is what we have in Guyana. That was what we had in America from 1896 to 1954. Legal segregation, segregation by law and segregation in practice. Even when the court said that where there was equal amenities, that African Americans should be given access. So if there was not a black university in a particular county or state, yet when the court said that, we're having some difficulties here. We're having some difficulties. Bear with us, bear with us. even when the court said that blacks can be allowed to go to white schools if there are no comparable black schools. Even when the court said that, the black people were accepted to the universities, but they had to go to the state house. They had to go to somewhere else, and the professors will go there to teach them. They were not allowed to go into the schools with the white counterparts. And so, yes, we do not have apartheid by law in Guyana, but we have apartheid in practice. When the working people are given something, Indian working class, they get $250,000 sugar workers, a whole set of money, fishermen and women. And when it came to the public service, the black people predominate, 8% of nothing. So it is clear, we are in the same river, but we are in different boats. The Indian working people and the African working people are in the same river, but we are in different boats. Indian mothers don't have to worry that their sons would be shot down by the police just because they're Indian. Indian communities don't have to worry that their homes would be demolished just because they're Indian. The Indian working class, their women won't have to worry that lawyers will spit in their faces just because they're Indian. The Indian working class don't have to worry that their lawyer daughter would be locked up for doing her work. Oh God, is it not clear for all to see? To see where the violence is directed. There's no equal opportunity for the violence, the political violence, the physical violence, the racial violence, the economic violence. It's all coming the way of the African community. And that is why I want to say, as I've said, our struggle is not against the Indian people. Our struggle is not against the Indian working class. Our struggle is against the Indian oligarchy and the Indian political leaders who, in the name of Indian people, are carrying out the vicious attack on the African Guyanese community. Indian community doesn't have to worry that anybody would go into a high school and chase their children out and say, this area is not for you, this village is not for you. Indian working class doesn't have to worry about ethnic cleansing. Our people are being cleansed from Woodley Park, and we don't know where next. And so the WPA decided that we have to take to the road. And we have to be out there with our people, giving them the strength, the political nourishment that they need. And we cannot leave it just to the PNC. Other opposition groups have to do the same. Some of you are asking, where is the AFC? But I can't speak for the AFC. I can speak for the WPA. That we understand the role that has to be played. We are playing our role. And so we have announced civil disobedience. Way back in the 1970s, after the 73 election, the PPP announced civil disobedience, a program of civil disobedience, starting in 1973 and stretching to 1976. The civil disobedience meant that they did not cooperate with the government. They burned canes. They brought only what they want to sell to the markets. And when they were finished making back their money, they dumped the rest of food before selling it to supporters of the PNC. That was their civil disobedience. They sabotaged the national economy, burning canes. They went on strike. So civil disobedience is not new. The WPA itself, 1979-80, launched what we call the civil rebellion. We went further. And so we have had a long history of civil disobedience. And let the PPP say to us that they have not any civil disobedience. And so the WPA says boldly that in this time, in this period, we have to engage in civil disobedience. We are satisfied. We are satisfied that the attack is a one-way attack. We are satisfied that it's a one-way attack. We are satisfied that the attack is coordinated. We are satisfied that the PPP is intentional in what they're doing. We are satisfied that they've closed all doors to any peaceful negotiation. We are satisfied that they are prepared to go to any lengths to hold on to power in an illegitimate way. Because the PPP government is not a legitimate government. It may be a legal government because they came to power under the instruments of the law. But they are not a legitimate government because the government arose from a disputed election. We in the WPA said that during the 5 months. It was a disputed election. The Americans who helped to remove the coalition government later on agreed with it. And that the government installed, the Americans say that. So what we have in an installed regime that is behaving in the most lawless way. And no people, certainly not a people with a history of struggle, the history of bondage and the history of struggle against bondage. No people with that history behind them should take the blows without standing up. Civil disobedience. We announced it last night in Golden Grove. The media, of course, will not cover us, but we will use these platforms to let Guyana know that it's time for civil disobedience. And we hope to meet with our comrades in the opposition to propose the idea to them. But whether they join or they don't join, the WPA is saying it is time for civil disobedience and non-cooperation. They're not cooperating with the government. And we were glad to see civil disobedience in Lethem. That is what we are talking about. You take away our building today and tomorrow we repossess the building. That's civil disobedience. And we're glad to see that the PNC has awakened from its slumber and to recognize that the PPP is not going to meet us in Sunday school. They're not going to meet us in church. They're not going to meet us in the drawing room. They're not going to meet us in parliament. They are going for confrontation. They're going for confrontation. And while we are not initiating confrontation, we cannot sit by and allow ourselves to be bruised. And so tonight's program, PNC Fight Back. PNC fights back. That's what we'll be hearing. We heard it in Mocha the other night. We heard it in Golden Grove last night. They want to see their parties fight. They're not about violence. But you can't have people being charged for terrorism in Golden Grove, and you have not come to Golden Grove in solidarity with them. That's what we're talking about. That's the civil disobedience that we're talking about. They do not want us to go to Golden Grove. They do not want us to go to Moko. So we go to Moko, we go to Golden Grove, civil disobedience. My brother Darren Wade, who himself has been calling for affirmative action on the part of the opposition. He didn't use the word civil disobedience, but he has been calling. He's here and ready to talk to us. And we are bringing in. Good evening, Council.
Good evening, Dr. Hinds. How are you?
I am surviving by God's grace and the grace of the ancestors, and I'm feeling good because if there is a tree, there is a small axe waiting to cut you down. We shall cut you, but to cut the tree down. And I know that you're a man who likes your roots music, so you will recognize that song by the Wailers. So the PNC is fighting back in Lethem, and you were one of the voices and the faces standing up against that atrocity, that barefacedness, that act of violence against the major party in this country, the People's National Congress, one of the two major parties in this country. Tell us what happened and why the PNC decided that they've got to take that action that they.
Well, as you all are aware, the party has made it clear that the party has been in possession of that building in Lethem for approximately 50 years, on or about 50 years. The party has been in possession of that building. The PPP, RDC, well, the government has distanced themselves from the act, unlawfully trespassed on the premises of the People's National Congress property there in Lethem without the consent or permission of the party. They used Venezuelan nationals to remove the zinc sheets and the party's properties, the stove, the fridge, the TV, documentations of comrades and so forth were unlawfully removed by the PPP. We felt that we cannot be a party for the people, and we cannot be a party who is standing up for what is right. And we are telling persons that we fit for government, that we are about justice, and we are going to allow the PPP to bully us. So we went to Lethem and we took back our property, what is rightfully ours. We remained in possession of the premises. Our meeting was held there. The party prayer was said at the beginning of the meeting. So our records will reflect that. I noticed you were off for a while, but I'm unable to know if you were able to follow me.
I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you. Brother Darren, I know something about your party song, "Oh Fighting Men," because my countryman, my mentor, wrote that song for the PNC, "Oh Fighting Men and Fighting Women." And it's very good to see the PNC reflecting its battle song, "Oh Fighting Men." Talk to me, Mr. Wade.
So yes, we were there. The comrades, it was very emotional when the aircraft touched down there at Lethem. The comrades, they were there with tears in their eyes. Majority, Africans, Amerindians, mixed race. They were there in tears in their eyes, there to welcome us, crying of what has took place. There, Mr. Charles Ramson Jr. was there on the ground. Apparently, he has something to do with sports there. He was there with the police command, and I approached the police command, and I let them know or Mr. Ali, that we were disappointed that the police was used to oversee such an unlawful act. We explained to him that we expect nothing but an impartial investigation into the matter. Of course, we know the police, they're not professional, professional police force. We have the police force has become an arm of the PPP government. The PPP has been using the police force to settle political scores, which is unfortunate in a democracy. The laws are clear, as I expressed. Then we went to the building. The building was locked. No, it wasn't locked. Matter of fact, there were persons there working on our building. There was a padlock there, and also there was a fence. And we released a nail, released parts of the fence. We released to access our building and recapture our building. We released a few nails from the fence, and we enter. We later fixed back the fence, and that's how we gain access to our building. The contractors were there doing fresh work, putting back the roofing. So we didn't trouble the contractors or any of the sort. Matter of fact, we asked them who were there and so on, what the purpose, and we expressed that it's our building. They later left. I read some nonsense in newsroom today, a press release by the police. We made a second report. Whilst there, we made a report to the police of the unlawful entry and the trespass. We also made the comrades made reports before. The police has taken no action in relation to that report. No action they have taken. No one was arrested, despite we call names and so forth. We will fight. We will not give up. I told them, I will say it again, we will take the commissioner of police to court in relation to this matter, because the law is very straightforward and simple and needs no explanation in relation to trespass and unlawful entry to the premises. So very soon, the commissioner of police will be receiving will be seeing legal action being instituted.
We'll be seeing legal action being instituted, and certainly you've garnered the hearts of a lot of your supporters of the party and opposition supporters in general, because they are other parties. But the PNC is, of course, the big party, the party with the longest history, the party that is historically received the majority of votes from African Guyanese and from those who are not PPP. And it is good to see the party rising up and showing our people that it is not prepared to continue to just speak and allow these atrocities to continue. And speak about atrocities in the part of the country that you come from, West Bobbies, we saw the instance of people chasing black school children from Woodley Park and telling them that they should not be there. I and my party, the WPA, did not mince any words. It's ethnic cleansing. When you're telling people of another group they can't be there, it's ethnic cleansing. Are you suffering on that incident?
Well, I as a boy growing up, I played cricket for Litchfield, and we oftentimes played against Woodley Park, and we always destroyed Woodley Park in cricket. We always humiliate them, but whilst we were playing, the vile threats, they would tell us that we have to take the pasture. We have to take the pasture. We got to take the water side and go home. What they're going to do, and the racists and the hatred, the things they would insult us while playing cricket. As youngster, I was playing under 15 cricket. 11 and 12-year-old being subject to such an harassment in Woodley Park. I must also say that I also support. I mean, I can't remember if I played for Bushlot, which is the Indian community as well. But I was there supporting the Bush. I remember being there supporting Bushlot team as well. and we were subject to similar harassment, despite Bushlat being an Indian village. Also, with the park, they were very aggressive towards Bushlat. I could recall that. I could recall playing for Bushlat secondary, if my memory fix me right. And whilst being there in at Woody Park, the harassers, insult us, tells us racist and derogatory terms. So what transpired there, those allegations, or what transpired rather, it's not surprising to me. I must also mention that number 12 village, if you could recall, number 12 village. Remember on my previous show, I mentioned number 12 village. Number 12
Yes,
village is between Woodley Park and Bar Settlement, the African ancestral village. You know, so only
yes.
recently some comrades reminded me of that, or they were discussing it, what transpired there with the
These were
Britons and the various families that were beaten, were killed, and put out from there 1964 in that village. So that area is known to be very aggressive towards Black people.
that area is known to be aggressive towards Africans.
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
You are not surprised. And a lot of people I talk to from that area express similar sentiments. Darren, I know you move around, you talk a lot to people. What is the sense you're getting from the supporters of the opposition? Before you came on the air, recounted the incidents of violence, the incidents of harassment, the incidents of charging people on trumped up charges, the incidents of removing people from their jobs because they are deemed to be supporters of the government. Now, what are you hearing from your supporters ground about this constant hammering away, beating up on supporters of the opposition?
Well, our supporters' concerns generally is with the party. I believe too much of energy, and and Miss McDonald mentioned it who's a central executive member of the party, mentioned it while she's was in Brooklyn recently at the town hall meeting. Too much energies, I believe, is spent on the internal struggles of the party. I think, and that is open and in the public. Too many energies are being used within. I believe the internal struggles of the party more or less they're affecting us. I believe those energies by comrades should be used to defeat the PPP. Um, Comrades should also not be selective, as I mentioned. They should not be selective in their outrage. Comrades, whatever, we must always sing from the same tune. There must be harmony in the way how we approach our dealings politically. I may never be friends with some of my comrades. Your comrades are not your friends. Of course, the two could cross, but it may not always be the same.
The young man here making the plea for party unity. Sister Coretta MacDonald made the same plea when she was speaking at a town hall meeting in the United States of America. It was carried in the media, Demerara Waves, and so there's no secret. And here is another young member of the party making his plea because it is affecting the struggle of our people out there. They're taking blows from the government, and the party is not settling its internal affairs. All parties do have internal strictures.
It doesn't help. It doesn't. The perception. It doesn't help the party. You read stuff about no confidence. Yes, and I believe the party has its own mechanism to deal if you don't like a leader. Our parties, say one thing with the PNC internally, it's a democratic party, because you're able to elect your leader every 2 years. So things like that, I believe, when persons see these things, it kind of turn off, because it's those energies that are, and you may not be favor, and I per se, the last election I put myself up for election, the comrades didn't vote for me in the numbers, and I believe when you look at the work that I'm doing and so on, I deserve to gain a spot. We had what they call a slate. We person put up a slate and said, "This is my slate," and the comrades went and vote for it. I believe the way how the comrade voted, I think it was reckless, quite respectfully. But those are the persons who they trusted to run the party affairs for these 2 years. And whatever we could do, whatever support we could do to support them, we must continue to do it. We must continue to support them, and the energies that we utilize, our efforts must be used to build a party and to defeat the PPP. If we feel that, if we feel that what they are doing is, or how they voted is not in the party, or they're not working in the party interest, then election time will come around. In addition to that, you as party members, we could form groups. There's only $100 to join the PNC. So comrades also need to look at party activism, to expand your reach politically. So that is more or less my concern. As I mentioned, a lot of persons talked about it. I didn't agree with the slate system. It was not the best thing, I believe, but that's what the comrade chose. That's what they picked to be the leaders, and so be it. Elections is going to come around, and then we will deal with party election issues. But as for now, we have our leaders, and we should work to support our leaders of the party. Our effort must not
work to support.
Yes.
Go ahead.
No, right. So no, that's basically what I was saying. Our effort must use to support. We must use our efforts to support the current leadership to ensure that we defeat the party. The leadership may not be perfect, as in all cases, but it is what we have. And with the PPP case, Barry Jack, you could be as bad as he is, or whether or not if they want to call you bad or good or what have you, but they will support whatever the internal struggle they have. But when it comes to political issues of the party, there is no segregation. If Jack, you say that the blue building is red, everybody check the Facebook page. They have that building is red. They will go with it. And that is what is absent from the party. And I have spoken to comrades quietly, and I have said to them, no, the approach must be on unity. If I see you commenting on A, I must see you commenting on B. If you're challenging the Moko issue, you must also challenge the Daniel Seram issue. If you're challenging the Daniel Seram issue, you must also challenge the Lethem issue. In unity, there is strength. And that is what I left with the comrades on the ground in Lethem. And when we left, the morale was high.
Morale was high. Good evening to those of you who were just joining us.
Let me mention this too. If you were part of the struggle with the mayor of the city of Georgetown, you must also be part of everything else as well. You mustn't choose your struggles. Well, you mustn't choose the issues, but once they're party issues. I remember I was listening to and this coming to mind as I speak to this what's his name again? Comedy the other day, Chris Rock, as he was slapped by Will Smith, and he made that point. He said Will Smith probably that he has selective outrage. Because all the wrong things that other people did to him, he didn't do anything to them, but he come and he slapped me. So we must not have selective outrage. The PPP do something wrong, we must call it out.
We must have. We must not have selective outrage. A plea for party unity from a young member of the People's National Congress. Here tonight, we are talking about the fact that the party went to Lethem and took back the party building that was demolished, almost demolished by the government. Party documents were pilfered, and the party went to Lethem and take back the building. Good evening to those of you. We're coming from Guyana tonight. We're coming from Guyana, yes. Politics 21 is coming from Guyana. Tomorrow night, the WPA will be in Denhamstel. It will be our third meeting in the last couple of days. We started in Mocha. We were in Golden Grove last night. We're going to be in Denhamstel tomorrow night, then in Buxton on Thursday night. We have decided to come onto the street and to declare civil disobedience, to tell our supporters, to tell African Guyanese, to tell opposition supporters that there are things that you can do to push back against the violence of the state. There are things that you can do, and we are very glad that the PNC engaged in civil disobedience. They wanted to take your building and you do nothing. And the fact that you get something, you're disobeying them. That's what we're talking about. We're asking our people not to engage in recklessness. We ask our people not to engage in violence, but we say to them that do not substitute your humanity for cowardice. We're asking that you live out your humanity. And what human beings do when they face reckless violence by any state is they stand up erect, use their bodies as barricades against them. And so that is why we are on the streets. And we noticed the PNC is also on the streets. We had a meeting last night in All Boys Town while we were in Golden Grove. We have to fight in the East and fight in the West. And that is why for us, opposition unity is also very important. We cannot afford a disunited opposition. You all know I have opened this program to people from the AFC to the PNC as my own party. They have been the least, they've had the least access as WPA to this program. But it doesn't matter to me, because at the end of the day, once our goal is the same, then I am prepared to open this platform so that the word can get out and that we can keep our people mobilized. Thank you all so much for being concerned that we are off the air for a few days. And I've explained earlier, I was traveling and, you know, my family asked me to take one night off. And then on Friday night, I was in Mocha, and last night in Golden Grove. So we missed a few shows. Tomorrow night, we're going to be live from Denhamstel. So make sure that you are ready for tomorrow evening coming live from Denhamstel. Brother Darren, is there anything that you want to talk about that I didn't ask you?
No, I just want to point out to the viewers that there was a release today by the police force, very unprofessional, very distasteful, disgraceful. As I said, the police force is now an arm of the PPP that is being used to set a political score. The police are based upon reports of the party unlawfully being in the building. They visited the property. Let me say this to our viewers, that the party office in Lethem is the neighbor of the police. And that is for almost 50 years, as I said. The police has two buildings, two living quarters next to the party building. And the third building is the police headquarters, the police station in Lethem. Those of you who went to Lethem are aware of this. They mentioned a report made by Carl Singh, the RO, they failed to mention the reports, the complaints, the reports that were made by the party. That is disgraceful. That is bias. And the person who took the report from Karasing was one of the police who the support, the comrades explained to me down there, who supervised the unlawful entry. That is the allegation the comrades gave to me. The person who took the report from Karasing is the police who supervised the unlawful entry of the Venezuelans. They said they want to build an health center over the road, just over the road from the party building is the regional hospital. So I don't know what they're talking about an health center. The comrades there, they said to me in Al Shelton, all of the village around there has hospitals and health centers and health posts. So they were shocked and surprised about this foolish excuse. It is bullyism. It is wicked and vindictiveness by the PPP, and I will stand because I know the law is on my side. I'm aware, of course, they may want to use, they send to DPP for advice. I wouldn't be surprised because based upon what we have seen recently by the DPP office, if they say charge comrades, charge Darren Wade, charge investigate, arrest Darren Wade, arrest Don Easton Williams, and so on, I wouldn't be surprised. But it would be an honor and a joy to be arrested for justice. I would join the likes of Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King, and the others. It will be a joy. And I believe I mentioned with activism, there's a lot of, I think that's a problem with a lot of politicians, a lot of the politicians in the opposition. There are no sort of activism. You have to be prepared for the necessary. I know what I did, it was lawful. I know what the government did, what the RU did. The government said not them, is unlawful. The question is if the DPP office is aware of that. If they understand and appreciate the law of trespass and occupation. That is what, is if they understand. And even if they know the law, is if they're going to apply the law as it's supposed to be applied or meant to be applied. Or they want to harass, because they very well know there's no case, but they want to harass you. So you always have to be prepared. When you put yourself up for leadership, you have to be prepared for this. Because you have to. That's what the people expect from you as a leader. To stand up for what is right and not to have selective outrage. That's right. That is what.
You're aware of the charges of terrorism. You're aware of the charges of terrorism.
Of course, those terrible charges. I'm aware of that.
In Golden Grove. And you're aware that Sister Robin Simon, one of the chief organizers of the resistance after Quindon Bacchus, she was taken into custody today. A wanted bulletin was issued for her, and she turned herself in with her lawyer today. Her lawyer was there. And up to just before I came on air, she has not been charged yet. She's at the Pelicans, where they keep women detainees.
I know the party was in contact, and the party, and we know the party do play a lot of role. They assist comrades who are being victimized, because even I understand with the bail and so on, the party do come and play its part. So let us not forget that. The person are arrested once the party is of the view that is unlawful and so on. The party do support the lawyer to go there. The leader has been in contact with the lawyers and so on. And the party legal team, I know Mr. Todd has been playing a very pivotal role for the party. And I don't believe Mr. Todd is receiving any payments at all. So I just want to highlight that.
Yes, and of course we know Mr. Todd is the lawyer for the family, the Quindon Bacchus family. I think at the funeral he announced that. So we are quite aware that the party is playing that scene. Now the arrest of Sister Robin Simon, more of the same, Darren?
Pardon me?
More of the same, this now moving from charging men for terrorism, charging...
The act of the destruction, the act of destroying the People's National Congress property, that is an act of terrorism. That is an act of terrorism. state terrorism, state-sponsored terrorism. That is what it is. But we don't have professional policemen. You know, that is the problem. Well, we do have the good policemen. Let me don't think that. But those who happens to be in the hierarchy of the police force appears to be ready to take political instructions, and there is where we are. So the
Darren,
party, as we say, you're going wrong. The party comrades must do activism. They must be able to go into communities, and it's time we start mobilizing. That's me. We should start mobilizing.
Darren Wade, attorney at law and PNC member, speaking here tonight about the PNC's act of taking back its building, which was unlawfully taken away by supporters of the PPP. And in an act of civil disobedience, the PNC went there and took back the building. Darren Wade, closing thoughts.
Those are my closing thoughts. But for comrades, right, I want you to remain mobilized, remain in tune, especially, you know, as we say in the opposition, the women are the backbone for the PNC. And for you to remain mobilized, talk to your neighbors. When we need you, support us. Whatever necessary you could do to support us. We need your support. We cannot do it alone. There's always a talk that when you walk, and as I say, we call it protest, and you walk, when you look back, there's no one behind you. If you want change, you have to be that change. Support your leaders. Be with us. That is what I am calling upon the supporters.
Support you.
Yes.
And Wade, good evening, and thanks for coming on tonight and helping us to walk through that action there in Lethem. And
anytime. Subject to my availability.
Thank you very much, madam.
You too, sir. And thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. And to you, our audience, thank you for staying with us tonight. Coming out in large numbers. Politics 101 is on. Tomorrow night, we are coming to you from Amstel on the west side. I shall be there as the main speaker on the WPA's platform tomorrow night at Amstel, and we shall be live. Politics 101 live will begin tomorrow in Amstel at around 6 o'clock. And I want to thank those of you who continue to support our program, both in terms of your bodies, in terms of your numbers, and in other ways. We want to thank you so much. So tomorrow night, we will be in the Amstel. On Wednesday night, the Spin Twins are going to be back here. G.H.L. and Henry Jeffrey. I know you all have been asking for the Spin Twins. Well, they're back. They're back. Dennis Booker, good evening. The Spin Twins will be back on Wednesday. And Thursday, we'll be coming live from Buxton, where, again, the WPA will be holding a public meeting. So that's the lineup for the next 2 days. And thank you all so much for staying with us. And I shall see you all tomorrow evening, where we will be coming from the west side, the village of Den Amstel.